We're giving away a professor's research, and all you have to do to enter is like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be picking a winner on the weekend. And now back to the video. We're in an interesting time in the metagame where everything starts solidifying, and yes, this is looking amazing for tournament play. And then afterwards there is going to be a little bit slight differences when it comes to rank season, but there's going to be another video on that coming up. But let's get into the meta report. Here we go. We have a share within the last couple, well, this week, right? We've seen a lot of Lucario rise. We've seen the rise of Hoopa with Mega Absol. You know, week 1, Vespiquen and Shuckle, you know, was unstoppable. That thing was insane. But, you know, with the rise of that deck, you know, it gave birth into the meta for Lucario, and Lucario was definitely giving it a run for its money. And then afterwards with Lucario comes, you know, the electric decks do suffer as well. So, you know, Manectric definitely taking a backseat as well, unfortunately, because that deck was amazing. But we'll talk more about that deck later on once we you know, arrive to that section. You know, with Lucario being out there too, and, you know, Hoopa, you know, a lot of Miraidons have been showing up and, you know, performing a lot more successful in the metagame as well. We could scroll down here and take a quick look of, you know, the Pokemon, the decks that actually seen a big jump. As you can see, Lucario, Charizard Y, and Miraidon, and then afterwards Mega Sceptile with Greninja definitely seen a high increase as Manectric and Vespiquen, like I mentioned earlier, has been dropping. And overall makes sense in the current stands, because again, we are taking tournaments that are best of 3 and best of 1, or a mix of those, and, you know, slapping it on. And, you know, this is the best way to find out, you know, what decks are resilient or not. And let's see the last winners. These are the last couple of decks that won within the last 3 days. As you can see, one of the biggest tournament, which was the Pokemon, you know, community series, which had over 400 people, well, almost 500. You know, Miraidon ended up taking that win, and it was against Lucario, and then it did go into a game 3, surprisingly. So you could see that sleep is coming back into the metagame, because slowly but surely Oricorio is getting introduced, and once Ori is being introduced into the metagame, people are gonna have to start playing other outs such as sleep. Yes, sleep scam is definitely gonna be part of the metagame, unfortunately. But let's get into the decks. So one deck I want to bring up is Flareon EX. Definitely a, how do I say, honorable mention. This deck caught everybody off guard. Like, this is Flareon. It shouldn't be working in a metagame like this. It's taking damage, 20 damage, but at the same time, you know, it's squishy, but it's a powerful attacker doing 130 damage. It ended up beating a lot of the meta decks, a lot of the Hoopa decks, and, you know, surprisingly, it did go 8-3 and make it into top 32. Here's the QR code, by the way, if you want to copy this deck. The only difference now is the brand new Flareon that does 70 damage plus the burn. Other than that, I think the deck is like the same. Interesting choice that we opted in for the Find a Friend. I don't really see the benefits, I guess, of evolving, you know, the EV from, unless you decide to play like a Sylveon or something like that. But I don't see the need to like boost evolution, you know. But overall, the deck ended up performing well against, you know, multiple meta decks. So, and it is fire, you know. Grass could be seeing a resurgence, so always keep that in mind. Speaking about grass seeing a resurgence, we are going to talk about Meowscarada EX. So this deck right here is amazing. Like, it's one of those decks where it plays well into Lucario, plays well into Dark, and there's going to be a lot of Dark everywhere. You know, Meowscarada being being able to put 70 around the board is kind of insane. Here you could play Ogerpon without, it being that much of a dead card, because you could combo that off with Meowscarada EX and, just do a lot of damage later on late game. And Ogerpon prevents the sleep, burn, paralysis, any of those common status elements that you'll be seeing. It's really strong. Meowscarada being able to do 130 damage on EX Pokemon is insane in this deck. Combine that with Flower Trick, and it's like GG's. Like, your opponent can't really do too much to win. Overall, this deck is strong, and would recommend you guys, try it out. Next up, another honorable mention is Charizard Y. Mega Charizard Y has just overall been in a class of its own, I would say, because it's just powerful. This thing can come out of nowhere and do 250, and it's just like a monster once it's out on the field. Not to mention, Entei with Giant Cape is insane. Like, Wally making Mega Charizard Y being able to attack after just having one energy in the prior turn is kind of insane. Because you have access to the Charmeleon ramps, you have access to the Flame Patch ramps. It's just like pretty good synergy all over. In this variant, we are showing off the Rainbow Cave, because Rainbow Cave is pretty good. I do like that. You don't have to play the Rainbow Cave, to be honest. But like Charizard EX, I mean Mega Charizard Y is insane for many reasons, honestly. But yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about Mega Sceptile and Greninja. This deck is definitely a staple in the metagame for any pocket player to have in their arsenal. This deck is just amazing. Yes, it's a little bit... The Blaziken one, I would say, is a lot more inconsistent versus this one. But, this deck is just really strong. Sure, you could get into Mega Sceptile in many different ways. Having that Pheromosa, just do ping damage on the bench is huge for late game, because like Mega Sceptile combined with Greninja can literally one-shot most of the metagame, even Mega Pokemon, and put them in a tough situation. Field Blower, one of the best tech cards that has been seeing popularity in this meta, is one of the best cards in the game right now for items. And then we have Hiking Trail, Juliana for, either Greninja or Sceptile. Like I said, this deck is amazing. It's a staple. You can't go wrong with it. You might as well just play it. I did end up sharing the code. I'll do it one more time, just in case. But yeah, nah, this deck is insane. It's strong. It can knock out everything in one hit. Let's talk about Vespiquen and Shuckle EX. This is a fan favorite deck because, a lot of people, when Shuckle did come into the metagame, did not believe in it. But, finding its right pairing with Vespiquen is kind of insane. Even though you are kind of sacrificing it, and it's basically like a shield. It does its job really well. Pheromosa there, being able to pick off anything on the board, so you could Cyrus and find a win condition later on. Sabrina, I feel like, was one of the best additions to this deck. Being able to Sabrina and Cyrus, and you're dealing 140, almost every single turn, is pretty good. Overall, Vespiquen is just strong paired with Shuckle, with Pheromosa, and then, Erica is like needed. Like, Grass needs that 50 HP for a fact, but like definitely it's still a very strong deck. I could still see this, winning a tournament, or even just popping off in a, in rank, because this deck is fast, and that's something you really want for a rank. Next up, let's talk about Miraidon and Magnezone. So, one thing about the electric decks that I want to talk about is everybody is starting to play double Magnezone, and it's either going to be Mirror Shot Magnezone paired with Magnezone EX, or it's going to be double Mirror Shot. In this case, it's going to be double Mirror Shot, because we're going to pair with Miraidon EX. So, one thing I wanted to just pull from the Magnezone and Magnezone EX that played no Miraidons, yes, they're consistent. Yes, they give you good wins, but they haven't been able to clutch out and win a tournament. Miraidon made that possible for this deck. So at least having it at 1, it's one of the best ways to play it right now. And with this metagame, people are not really respecting Oricorio, and Oricorio came back into the metagame, unpunished, and it's just insane. That's why Sleep Scam has been coming up. So it's a little triangle format thing, or a little circle of life, whatever you want to call it. More people start playing Ori, more people are going to play Sleep Scam. It's just how it's going to go. Again, nothing really from like the traditional build that's different. Everything runs the same as the other ones. So again, here's the code if you guys haven't gotten it yet. But let's go into Mega Lucario EX. This is a powerhouse. This deck with the X speed and Hitmonlee. There's been Bonsly variants of this deck. This deck is just consistent. I mean, it's good. Let me take that back. It does have the ability to brick. I'm not gonna lie. I played this deck a lot. It has brick potential, really, like, it's insane high rate. But that being said, Mega Lucario EX being able to deal 140 damage late game and it having 190 HP is pretty good in the late game, and having access to like Sabrina, Cyrus late game with the Hitmonlee. This deck is tried and true. It can fight and one-shot most Pokemon, and since you're playing regular Lucario, Karina, and the Arena, you have the potential to do 210 damage, which is kind of knocking out almost every Mega Pokemon, even Mega Sceptile in one shot. So if they come in unchecked and you save your cards, you could just nuke anything on the board, like instantly vaporized. So yeah, no, this deck is insane, super consistent. I'd say run this because it won't fail you, only when you break. Alright, I was mentioning it, a lot of people are gonna go crazy, but this deck, we can't ignore this in the metagame. It did go undefeated in a 90-person tournament or 170-person tournament, and it's just insane. It is the Espeon variant. I personally do just like the Igglybuff variant, where you're just using that and you're playing double Altaria. But at the same time, the deck is amazing. It's strong, like amazing as in like it'll pop off when the Oris are here, because you got to take advantage of that yellow bird. It can't really do anything against this deck because, first of all, you're putting them asleep. The only Mega Pokemon you have is Mega Altaria, and it's a 1-of in your deck, so you're pretty much set up for success when you fight those type of decks, and it just gives you win conditions out of nowhere. Igglybuff just gives you win conditions you shouldn't have, and overall, Sleep Scam is still really strong, and this could give you a little future peek at what might be happening in the next rank season. Next up, I do want to talk about Hoopa Mega Absol. This deck is super strong. You want to talk about consistent decks, this deck is super strong. This is one of the most recent decks that popped off. The only thing I would probably change from this is Small Balloon for X Speed, because X Speed is one of those things where, like, you don't have to commit the Small Balloon on the Pokemon because the Sceptile is the priority here. But essentially, the deck, all you're really trying to do is attack 30 in the front and then 20 on the back. And you're playing, double Cyrus. You have, like, all the best item cards in here as well, such as, Lucky Ice Pop, Repel, because you don't have to commit to the Sabrina with the supporter, because Repel, you could copycat into Repel and then just have, crazy win cons. You could have, Field Blower popping off, like, crucial item cards that, your opponent has. Starting Plains usually is a bad card, but like in this deck it works really well, because if your opponent doesn't have the out and you see them recklessly get rid of the Field Blower for the Deceptive Needle, because most cases they would, and most people are playing like 1 stadiums unless you're playing Rainbow Caves. If you win the Stadium Wars, this deck, it has insane HP and you're pretty much popping off. Again, the deck is really strong. Does a lot of residual damage throughout the game, and then Mega Absol could come in and clean for 110 damage with Needle combined with its attack and even Darkrai. So the deck is really strong in this metagame. Last but not least, surprisingly, it's still one of my favorite decks. Gouging Fire has definitely surprised me. Like, the ability to brick energy is even with Rainbow Cave, it's the only turnoff that I have about this deck, but the deck is still performing really strong. The Dragonair Gouging Fire into Mega Rayquaza. I do love the deck. It's unique. It's one of the best dragging variants out there, like I mentioned. It's even outperforming the Drampa versions, because the Drampa versions are only hitting for 70, while Gouging Fire, imagine putting 100 damage into a Mega Pokemon. That's kind of insane overall, but Mega Rayquaza being a last game finisher, last card finisher, is just really good. But overall, this is the meta report. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time for the best rank decks.